Screenless. Kate Clanchy, writer, teacher and journalist. Welcome to Creative Cuppa.
Hi, thank you for asking me.
So those three things, do you have a preference or do you feel like they feed into each other?
Well, I think journalism just goes under writing, really. And actually, I do more sort of literary criticism these days, which is sort of the reading side. Though, I've always done a bit of journalism, but used to get paid for it in the old days. Yeah, and that's one thing that you don't so much anymore.
Right.
I think of myself as a writer and a teacher, and I've been both of those things. I was a teacher before I was a writer, but I've been both of those things for most of my working life. And they just sort of exist in balance. And, sometimes I say, I can't possibly get on with my writing. There's so much teaching going on. But once I'm writing, then I always want to be teaching. And I think they feed off each other and they're both very, very important.
Yeah, I have a similar thing in audio where, I write music, but I also do podcasts and various other things like audio branding. So the variety I love, actually. It's you find you're doing one thing and then you look forward to going back to another.
Yeah, they nourish each other.
They do.
Obviously, they get into, you have frustrations, but mostly they nourish each other.
Yeah, it's a very good way of putting it, actually. So last year, you helped out with a project I was doing called #Poems, and I was really blown away by the way you went out of your way to include your students and to encourage them and to even record them for that project. How are Timmy and Mugahang? How are they doing now?
Well, been in touch with both of them in the last couple of weeks. So Timmy he made a great poem he was a BBC local poet. If you look him up on Google, you can get him reading a really wonderful poem he wrote about being in Oxford as a refugee. That's Timilin Amison. And he's now at the University of Portsmouth. He's reading engineering. He still sends me poems. I just get these little poems with the subject line Timmy poem, and there will be another amazing poem. He's going to help me out with a project working with some Yoruba students. It's going to have to be online, but we're going to make it happen. So Timmy is still there. Mugahang excitingly got into the University of Oxford, and he was absolutely adoring it. He's now obviously been landed at home. But I've started a Zoom group going of my old students. And, we know each other well enough to work like that. So a couple of times a week, I'm getting people together and just doing some poetry workshops online with them. And they're still, Mugahang's writing and editing in Oxford. And obviously just writing and acting is dramaturgy, and whatever he's going to do is clearly what his life's going to be. So I'm very proud.
That's great. That must be amazing for you to see how your students and pupils kind of flourish.
All my little birds.
Yeah.
They don't actually necessarily have to be writers. So Shukriya, she's from Afghanistan, and she was round and she's completing her MA applications for SOAS next year, which I very much hope she'll get to go. And that's international relations. So in that case, the poetry is part of her life, and it's really helped her to find her voice, and I'm sure she'll carry on writing, but her main is kind of helped her into a different sort of life where she's going to
I was going to say
help her own people.
What you've done with those children, do you think it's really boosted their confidence? You talk about them finding their own voice.
I think so, yeah. I think being read, being heard, feeling important in the world, yeah, I think they have. There's several of them who are now doing just extraordinarily well.
Oh, that's great. A disclaimer, I find it really hard to read in the working week. I don't know if it's something about working with audio, having to switch brains, but I've started reading your book, Some Kids I Taught and What They Taught Me.
Oh, good. And do encourage everyone to buy the paperback, yeah.
Great. I'm going to dedicate time on the weekend to sit in the garden. I think it's going to be nice and have a good read. I'm an ex-primary school teacher, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe the feeling the first day of school from the teacher's perspective. I found myself going straight back into, the smells and the sounds and that peace and quiet in the early morning.
Yeah.
It was really great. And you also liken learning to be a teacher to learning to be a beekeeper or an acrobat.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about some of the things those kids have taught you then.
Well, that's why I wrote a whole book about them. It's very, very complicated, the things that you learn, aren't they? I was thinking about being a young teacher and then, how much you learn and how much you change. But at the same time, young teachers are fantastic. People there in their first couple of years, they might not quite know what they're doing, but they've got so much energy to give, and so much closeness. And then I think, then you get teachers in their prime about 8 years in when they're really doing amazing work. But old teachers can be great as well. I think teachers just need more rest.
Yeah,
and then they
very much so.
And they need more furloughs, and they need smaller classes, and then they could carry on for your life.
Yeah, I always felt that the further you get on in teaching, the further away from the classroom you end up.
Yeah, and that's also a shame.
It really is, yeah. That's ultimately why I stopped doing it, because I could just see it coming, and I just thought, no, if I can't be with the children, on the front line, then I'm not sure I want to be a middle manager.
I want to be there at all. No. I think it's particularly a shame for like really great art teachers and really great music teachers who really just want to be with their kids, and then there is no promotion. There's no route for them to help with their subject. It's often just one or two of them, and that's particularly true in the state sector. It's particularly sad. The private sector knows how to take care of people much better and has the resources.
Yeah. And we're seeing at the moment, the people on the front line are very often the people who are the lowest paid. Yeah. The skilled workers, so to speak.
And that will be the same in schools, so that the people schools have been reduced to sort of childminding now, I guess.
Yeah.
And I bet that there'll be a lot of the lower paid people doing that.
So where can people find you online? I know on Twitter you like to share your students' work, don't you?
That's basically what I do. I don't even have a website. I have a Twitter handle. And I was thinking I should maybe expand into Instagram, but I seem to be strangely busy. I know I'm not supposed to be, but I do seem to be.
It's strange, isn't it? I found, because I'm still scoring animation, that, people just want to be supportive, don't they? Family and friends, and they send through funny things and funny videos and memes and things. But I found I was a little bit overwhelmed by the sheer amount of things coming through.
Yeah. No, I mean, I lost all my freelance work and then had to find some more. It was complete craziness going on. But I'm glad to be able to teach online, because that's the thing I miss most, is just going to see my students, really.
Yeah. How are you finding that, teaching over video rather than in person?
Well, for some of my students, so this group I was talking about, my old students, those are all people I know really well, and they're pretty together, and a lot of them are older now, and so they've got access to computers and things. But my group that I was teaching, that I was just really doing well with, they're really scattered, because they were refugees, newly arrived refugees, and some of them were kids with really bad social difficulties. I was teaching in the alternative provision unit, and we were doing so well. They were doing amazing work, but it was dependent on me being there, physically being there. And they're all scattered, and they don't have access to, computers and WhatsApp and headphones, and they can't get themselves together at that time. And I don't know how I can get them together. I really feel I've lost something there. It's really sad.
Oh, okay. So with the working from home, do you find yourself turning towards writing more?
Oh, well, I wish I could get more time. I mean, my life hasn't changed all that much. It's just, I've always had an element of time when I've been in the house, working. So in some ways, I find it maybe easier to adjust than others. I haven't had much time for my own work yet. We'll see.
Yes, maybe the start of a new book will come out of this.
I hope so. I need to. Some kids have been quite successful, so I've been very busy really for the last year or so running around.
Well, Kate Clanchy, thank you ever so much for joining me for a cuppa.
That was lovely. And see you online, Gareth.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.